All right, everybody, welcome back to Better Call Paul. We're welcoming real estate attorney Paul Krasker back here on behalf of Trident Title, Performance Title, and Synergy Title. Today, we wanted to just do a quick update on the forbearance situation. We're hearing all different things all over the place, and we get questions about it every day. So just wanted to let Paul kind of talk about what he's seeing out there with forbearance deals and houses and refinances and title and closings and all that fun stuff. And then if anybody has any questions on forbearance, we will open them up to Paul a little bit. But Paul, what can you tell us? What are you seeing out on the hard-nosed streets of Palm Beach?
So let's, before we get to mortgage forbearance, let's talk about student loan forbearance.
Okay.
I am get all choked up when I talk about it. I've continued to tell people how disappointed I am with the federal government by their decision to encourage people to just take the deferral on the student loans. You're costing the student loan borrowers money by just letting that interest continue to accrue and putting those payments on the back end of the loan. What they should be doing is contacting us to get into a forgiveness program. If they had contacted us at the beginning of COVID, they would have gotten into a forbearance program based on a zero revenue structure where they'd have no payment. And then they'd have 18 months of total forgiveness where they never had to repay that money. Because at the back end of the loan, it was just going to be forgiven anyway pursuant to the program. So the government's not telling people about this, but it's really disingenuous to tell them they're doing a good job for the people. So if you know of anybody, before they start getting gainfully employed, you can sign up now and get a year's worth of zero payments on your student loans. That gets rid of 1/20th of your student loans if you've got a 20-year loan package.
Now, what if they are employed and working? Does that, because you said if they're not employed, so if they are employed and working, is there still options for them to forgive or no?
Yeah, so if they're making the money they were supposed to be making, make your payments. If they were struggling to make the payments, then go into a forgiveness program, just like we've offered everybody, to lower those payments and get a forgiveness at the end of the 20 years.
Got it. And are you seeing a lot of people take advantage of these things, or just nowhere near as many?
No, we've probably done about 100 in the last year. These are kids graduating college, couldn't find a job because of COVID. You know, their college sent them an email, a letter saying that you should. We're getting.
Hang on, let me everybody make sure you mute yourself, please. Everybody make sure there we go.
Okay.
Should be good now.
So we're these were kids who graduated college, couldn't get a job because of COVID, and the government was encouraging them to just take the deferral. Probably about 50 to 100 people or so we put through the program during COVID. All of them got approved because they were making zero income, and all of them are now 18 months closer to having their student loans forgiven and a big chunk written off. So
nice. And you have services for people that are, just say you're working with a buyer and they are employed, everything's going well, that can either, I remember you used to have this, I don't know if you still do, but something that can kind of help chunk the loan payment down or make it a lower payment to help them qualify for a purchase.
Sure. So for people who have student loan debt, a mortgage lender has to factor in, pursuant to the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines, 2% of the loan amount as your outstanding monthly payment, which for many people forces them to be unable to qualify for a mortgage. Well, we take that amount and we put them through a forgiveness program, and usually we can cut the payment in half by doing so, and then you could use that negotiated payment amount as your debt instead of the 2%. So there's a real benefit if you're looking to get a mortgage to go through this process first.
Someone said, is that only on federal loans?
Yes, we consolidate federal loans. On private loans, we have to negotiate those down, and we do negotiations, especially if you've got no money towards being able to pay. We do that.
And
we're getting
how do
pretty
the
decent results.
how does the client pay you? How does the client pay you? Like, is there a fee for that, or what does the pay structure look like?
For federal loans, they pay us a percentage of savings. What we do is we get them an automatic 90-day freeze. So the 3 months of payments that they would have made to the federal government, basically it works out that they pay us half of that over those 3 months. And while those 3 months are going on, we get them either the payments eliminated or substantially reduced. So it
Cool.
comes out of money that they were going to pay anyway.
Makes
And
sense.
then on the private student loans, we charge people a percentage of savings. So if we settle their private student loan debt for 60 cents on the dollar and they saved 40%, they pay us 20%.
And is that dinging their credit or affecting them negatively in any, like, why would someone not do, is there a situation when someone would not do that?
So if you're going to be in default, then for sure, it's going to impact your credit. If you're in
But if you're
deferral,
paying, I mean, if you're paying and you can afford it, like, why would someone not try to have you guys negotiate that down, or does it just never work or get approved?
yeah, and we look at those numbers. If we don't think we can negotiate it down, we tell you up front, congratulations, you're making a lot of money, pay your debt. This isn't going to go well for you.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that makes sense.
and we've said that.
I know people are always thinking that.
We wrote letters. Veterinarians are the largest student loan debt holders for borrowers in the country. It's such a long process. The education's expensive, and the first 4 or 5 years out of school, they don't make any real money. So we tried to market to recent vet grads, especially during COVID, and some of them turned back and said, "Oh, you're too late. I'm already making crazy money. I can't get out of these things." But others of them say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to," and they've all got $300,000 worth of debt. So interesting.
It is crazy.
All right, so let's segue over to the mortgage situation. Most of everybody should be off their forgiveness by now and transitioning towards payment. Many people aren't going to be able to pay for one reason or another. Either they've started using the money towards other things, don't have the money in savings that they expected to have, blew all their PPP money, whatever it was. And those people are going to need our services to apply for a mortgage modification, et cetera. As far as foreclosure actions, the CFPB told banks, okay, we're not going to have a moratorium anymore, but we're going to institute a new rule. And that was instituted in September. And they said, you have to try using best diligent efforts to do mitigation efforts. And whether that be mortgage modification, short sale, whatever it is, you have to go through that process for 90 days. And you have to show a good faith effort before we'll allow you to foreclose. So banks are writing letters, certified mail, banks are calling the numbers on the file to ask people to give them a call. They're doing whatever they can do, and then following up with a letter to the house saying, we tried to call you on such and such a date and left a message, but we didn't get a response from you. They're papering their files during this time period so that after 90 days, which should be somewhere at the beginning of December, they can start the foreclosures. And they know that a bunch of these people are just bad people, and they are just looking for an excuse to drag this out for another 6-year battle. But they're doing everything they can do or need to do to be able to file those foreclosure actions in December. The federal government is hoping there isn't an onslaught of those. And, if there is, will it affect the housing market? Maybe. The good news is there is so much demand out there that if somebody really has to sell, most likely they can sell at a profit and aren't underwater like they were before. So
yeah, and we still are in desperate need of inventory. So those things coming to the market are going to solve some other problems and hopefully not take us downhill.
And the other thing is that, and I could give you an example from my personal neighborhood, a house, 3 doors down was in foreclosure for a while, just sold. The original expectation is that it was in very bad shape and it would sell for about $350,000. It was worse shape a year and a half later, and it sold for $499,000. So those are not the horror stories that people were seeing before. It was competitive bidding amongst 6 people, and it went above the bank loan amount. So I think you'll hear more of those, especially with Invitation Homes and their 2 competitors in South Florida in the marketplace for homes right now.
For homes, yeah. And we're starting to see a lot of people realize that, it's time to throw the towel in. They've rode this out for long enough. Let's sell. And like you said, they end up in the black. So it doesn't even matter.
Sure.
Good stuff. Anything that you think people need to be aware of with this forbearance, or if you're deciding, the waive that, what do they do? Do they come to you in advance? Needs to make this.
Yeah.
Correct.
Look, this is one of the few services that we charge for, and we make it affordable for people, but we do charge for it. So I'm always hesitant to be pushing people to use our services. I think it helps tremendously. I think that the people who tried to do it on their own got royally screwed over by the banks. And, I think they'll be foolish to try it again, I'm sure. And then we get involved after they've signed a modification that waived all their defenses and all the rest. It is what it is. But we'd love to try to help your clients. We're respectful of their circumstance. We do have an initial free consultation that we sit down on the, conference room table, let them vent, let them get their story out, listen to them, see any documents they want to bring to us. People bring in boxes of documents. And I think once they've done that, they sleep better. They feel like we put it in somebody else's hands who knows what they're doing, and we can walk away feeling comforted that we're heading towards a resolution. So,
and very often the truth is the right move for them is to sell the house. I mean, right now, a lot of them have more equity than they've ever had or than they've ever thought before. So, I mean, it is the right move for a lot of people to sell the house.
There's absolutely no question. And the last time around, we were keeping statistics, and it was like 92% of the time that people came in, the right recommendation was short sale. But for various reasons, mainly emotional, a lot of people said, no, I want to save the house. A bunch of those people came back to us 7, 8 years later and said, I'm now prepared to short sale. They realized the roof's now 8 years older. I've got an AC system that's not cooling to temperature. I've got to put all this money back into the house, and I'm still upside down from the last modification that didn't do me any favors. Now what do I do?
Are you seeing people struggle to get a modification if they have high equity in how low balance on the mortgage, or are they still doing those?
Well, I think they're going to be more flexible with the modifications at this point, because I think the banks know the dangers of filing tremendous amounts of foreclosure actions. And I think if they feel secure, and they see a real hardship that somebody lost a substantial portion, excuse me, of their equity, that they will be open to some sort of reduced payment for a time period. Especially if there's low income but high equity. So, to me, that's worth a shot.
Makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you for all the updates. I think this was something that we just needed to do, because we're hearing so many things and everybody has their take on it, and you're more boots on the ground than anybody that's talking about. So we appreciate this. And next week, guys, we are doing same time next week. We are doing going over all the updates on the new contract. If you're not aware, the contract for us is changing on the 1st of the month. We will be doing that on the 28th, going over them. So make sure you're here for through 4 or 5 key bullet points that are making changes. But Paul, thank you as always, and everybody
Sure.
else. We'll see everybody soon.
See you
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah, thanks,
Bye, guys.
Paul.